I haven't spoken to her in years, but truth be told, she's one of my favorite people. I watch her all the time. There's tremendous pride. She is Mina Kimes, big star now at the ESPN. We bring her into Dave Rothenberg's Giants obsession. The great Mina Kimes. How are you?
I'm good. You could not have timed this up any better. Did you plan it this way for me to come on after a glorious Giants win?
Let me tell you, if I was able to plan this kind of stuff, I wouldn't be doing 3 wins last year and 2 wins so far this season. But I'm thrilled to have you. We're thrilled to have you. You're doing great. You're a big star. Every time I turn on ESPN, I see your beautiful face, and I'm so proud and thrilled that we were able to work together back in the infancy of your radio TV time at ESPN. Mina, I just said this. I don't know if you heard it. It's only 3 games, and I get it. He's it. This quarterback's going to be a really good quarterback in this league.
Yeah, I mean this game in particular was so encouraging because against the Chargers, it was mostly the scrambling, right? Last week, obviously, you had the turnovers and it was somewhat disappointing. But I just thought he looked excellent throwing the ball in this one. And particularly, like, I thought he looked so decisive against the blitz. The Eagles had to blitz a lot because their pass rush wasn't getting it done. There's a whole other story. But I thought Dart was just fantastic at identifying the correct matchups when they sent pressure. He was accurate. Honestly, like, his best throw of the night might have been dropped by Theo Johnson. But I also, like, I came out of that game with I'm so curious to hear your take on this.
Yeah.
It is bothered me a little bit how much Brian Daboll is running him. And I'm watching this kid thinking, this is the future of your franchise. He's spinning it. You're running him like he's like he just had the concussion. It felt like, I don't know. I that is something I wanted to hear your thoughts on because it made me a little bit uncomfortable, and I didn't love to see that from Brian Daboll.
I agree with you, and I said before you got on, it's the way Brian Daboll acts with him is a little bit curious as well.
It's a lot.
I understand that there's this love affair. I get that, and I'm excited by it, but it's a little awkward going into the blue tent. Like, Mina, it's a little bit strange, but I agree with you. Running him to this extent, because it feels to me like Brian Daboll knows this is it. Like, if I don't succeed with this kid and either show that he's going to be really good and or win games, I'm out. And I mean, who knows if he ever gets a head coaching job again? So I feel like he's pushing his chips to the middle of the table and they're going all in. That being said, they even before the injury, I felt like they're overly aggressive and run him too much.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that I found, I agree with you wholeheartedly, really, really troubling is that once he went into the blue tent and Daboll's going into the blue tent to follow him, which was bizarre, and then yelling at the doctors. And I hope you heard, he said after the game, he would have taken timeouts if it would have meant that he could have gotten him back in quicker, not had to go to Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is a 15-year veteran in this league. He can't play 2 or 3 snaps. That was strange. But the thing that I found to be the most curious of everything that he did, and I agree with you totally, is that he comes back from a concussion or concussion protocol, and now you're continuing to run him and have him take the ball where he's getting leveled by guys. Like, what was that about?
I think what you're seeing and what I feel, what has given me some apprehension watching what should be a really exciting moment for Giants fans, right? Like, really thrilling to see what this kid is doing out there, is the danger or the risk that the Giants entered into when they kept the staff, because the incentives of the head coach might not be aligned with what's best for the team at all times. I don't mean to impute that he would, like, totally be self-serving in all of this, but we all know Brian Daboll has to win games to survive this. And if I'm a Giants fan, I know you want to win games. I'm not saying winning games doesn't matter, but the thing that matters the most is developing, preserving the future of the franchise, the quarterback. So that was, in that moment, I was like, oh, this is where those incentives suddenly are kind of coming to the forefront. And if I'm a Giants fan, I just do not love seeing that. And I would really like to see him dial it back moving forward.
Right. But here's the thing. A coach that had long-term goals here, not that he doesn't think he'll be here long-term, because he probably does, watching the way Jackson Dart's playing and what he's getting out of him early on this season. But a coach that thinks, 3 years down the road or 5 years down the road, is he telling Jackson Dart, like, you can't take the abuse, you can't take the hits? He stated, like, this is the way he plays football and this is the way. Well, he's 22. You're the coach. Maybe you have to sit him down and say, Jackson, if it means picking up a first down or sliding short of a first down to preserve to see another day, that's the direction we have to go in.
And some of these are designed runs too. It's not just Jackson Dart. I mean, yeah, I agree with you. He's got to inculcate that in Dart, but also some of these are designed runs, right? So like, it's not just him scrambling. And yeah, I don't know. That's just something I think to monitor. And I didn't love it, and especially when they had the lead and all of this, I didn't love in this game. Look, running is always going to be a big part of Jackson Dart's game. It is one of his greatest attributes. And it was cool to see even week one, like, okay, that's really translated to the NFL, because I really liked it about him in college at Ole Miss. Like, it wasn't just, yeah, he's athletic, he's big, but it was the way he runs. You didn't see him like bailing on pockets and running around back and then trying to turn the corner. He would run through the teeth of defense in college with great vision. He's clearly a great athlete. Translated immediately. That's great. And that's going to make life so much easier. I mean, we saw this with Josh Allen his first few years in Buffalo as he was like acclimating to the league and getting accustomed to things, improving his decision making and accuracy. That rushing ability gives you a floor as a quarterback. But you can't take that many hits, right? He has just taken way too many hits through the first 3 games. I just don't like to see that.
I mean, he's played 3 games. The first game he came up lame with a hamstring, right? Last night, you've had to see Russell Wilson 2 of the 3 games. So he has had to leave the game 2 out of 3 games. And the other time it was a hamstring and it was questionable what that was going to be. So he has to dial it down a little bit. And I agree with you. The coaching staff has to figure out a way to tell him, be your guy, do what you do, but we have to dial it back a little bit. Now, on the positivity, because I'm not going to let you come on here and be negative today, my friend.
Yeah, let's be positive. What a thrilling moment.
Side of things, this kid played, I thought, brilliantly well. And he did it with, Mina, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt, Theo Johnson, Daniel Bellinger. I mean, what happened? I mean, it just makes you upset that Malik Neighbors is out. You think, what would he be like if he had? What would he be like if he had legitimate weapons around this offense?
I know. Lil Jordan Humphrey, by the way, has been in the league for like quite some time, and I think still every time I'm like, how is he so big? His name's every time I see him, I forget that he's actually like very large.
It'd be very funny that his name, I don't know why, maybe this is my immaturity, Lil Jordan. Like, that's just a wonderful name.
Lil Jordan, but then he's 6'4", right? I think, yes, it's amazing that he did it with those players, but also, and again, you give some credit to Dable Kafka here. They were really able to attack the weakness of the Eagles defense, which is, well, it ended up being all the cornerbacks, but really Ringo has been that guy for them. But then, Mitchell goes out, and sometimes you have seen teams who haven't done that despite having wide receiver talent, who have been unable to really go after what is a pretty glaring weakness in Philadelphia. So I was impressed that with the Giants in terms of like finding, and Dart obviously, and identifying it and being accurate, but they were really able to go after Philadelphia where they were weak in this game. And that's what you want to see, right? Not just a quarterback who's available of attacking that, but a coaching staff that is smart in the way they're going about it. I mean, they've called a good offense for him. I really do think so, outside of the QB runs.
Right. No, I agree with you. And the thing is, the energy of these rookies. I mean, think of how rare this is, that you have a team that's just floundering and laughed at, and really one of the jokes of the NFL, and you have 2 rookie players, of an undersized running back and a quarterback who the coach is banking on to save the entire franchise. And you know what? It feels like they're doing it. Like last night, Scatterbo. I mean, could you imagine if he was the size of Derrick Henry? The guy would run through buildings, Mina. I mean, he is dangerous, and they can't stop him. They can't.
A great example of just watch the tape ahead of the draft. People are like, how athletic is he? And he's under. Just watch the tape, man. Like, in the biggest moments, this kid was trucking for NFL caliber defenders, right? And back in college at ASU, they alluded to during the game. But again, it's similar to Dart's rushing ability. You've seen that translate to the NFL. But like, can we talk about Brian Burns for a second? Because I thought he was unbelievable. He's been unbelievable all year. I feel like people have kind of slept on it, and he was just incredible, and not just against as rushing the quarterback, but also against the run. I was so impressed by him in this game.
Yeah, no, he was great, and he's been great. There's a couple of questions I want to get into as far as like the Dart aspect of this, and this is what you see and I'm not saying he's great, but what you see from great players is that they make everyone around them better. Right, like Lil Jordan Humphrey, like, oh boy, why is this guy not playing more? He looks good. Jalen Hyatt is making catches. The offensive line, which has been a disaster, Mina, all of a sudden is playing at a much higher level. Well, what's the common theme? The common theme is the quarterback is playing at a level that everyone is able to be the best version of themselves.
100%. And as far as the offensive line goes, too, when you have a quarterback who not only can extend plays, but gets the ball out reasonably quickly, which was something Russell Wilson's just been awful at, right, for most of his career. And then also is a threat to run. And suddenly you can run the football well, and you're not constantly in 3rd and longs, and you feel like you've got the defense on their toes. It all feeds into each other, and you get better play from everyone. Like, I think the run game too, just like the combination of Dart and Scatterbo and what they've been able to do with them, it's just going to make life. We talk about like, wow, these receivers aren't so good. Yeah, sure, but when defenses are actually worried about the run and you're getting one-on-ones and you're able to play action them and all of that and the RPOs, like it all flows together. And I think just lifting the floor of that run game with the two of these players has kind of made everything else easier for everybody.
100%. Not a Giants question, but an NFL related question. The tush push. I mean, you've had this thing. This is so stupid to run it 4 consecutive plays. Then you see DJ Davidson goes down. He gets banged up from it. Like, have we jumped the shark? I know that Jason Kelsey gives his impassioned speech and he can't get rid of it. It's not a football play. Guys are getting hurt. Nobody wants to see it. Are you on my side and it's not because I hate the Eagles, which I do, but can we move on from this stupid play already?
So my whole with the tush push, I've never had like super strong opinions, pro or anti. And at first I said, well, you know what? The teams had the opportunity to vote against it. And, like you can't complain about it if you voted for, I don't know how the Giants voted, but
they voted against it. The Jets voted for it, but God knows why.
So, but the thing that I think that's really a problem for the NFL is the false start aspect of it, right? Especially like you're watching in this stage. There's a very obvious false start on one of them, like the 3rd attempt of 4 or whatever, and they put it on the screen, and the rules analyst is like, "Well, it's easy for us to see in slow motion or whatever." Yeah, but you're gonna, as the NFL, you have to recognize people are going to watch this in slow motion. The broadcast is put in slow motion. So what you're doing is every time this happens, potentially angering every single person on earth who's not an Eagles fan by showing the missed call. They have to figure that out, Dave. I'm not talking about banning it in season, but this false start thing, they said it would be a point of emphasis, and then they're not calling it. That, to me, feels like the thing the league has to figure out now, because it's going to keep pissing people off. Because last year it was like, well, if you're angry about it, stop it. This year the narrative has shifted to this is cheating. This is not fair because of the missed calls, and I think that's an issue.
Yeah, it's a massive issue, and you see it. And they've actually interviewed I don't remember who it was, like for instance, like the Dean Blandino of the game, where they go to the referee there, and he's like, "Yeah, it's just impossible to referee this play." Well, if you have a play that's impossible to officiate, then should it be a play that's allowed to be run? Would be my question, right? Yeah. It's just very, very strange. You talking about Brian Burns? He's playing at a very high level. I think Thibodeau's playing at a very high level.
Yes, so good this year.
So good, difference maker, very quiet, right? But taking care of business.
Great against the run.
Great against the run. Terrific player. The one that, and I'll be honest, like maybe my expectations were a little unfair. I thought, and I know it's early on, I know Michael Strahan was inactive for like the first 4 or 5 games of his NFL career. I thought we'd get more from Abdul Carter right off the jump. Are you a little surprised you're not getting more from him right now?
A little bit, because I thought, with the presence of all the other monsters on the defensive line, he would have one-on-one opportunities to get sacked. You're still seeing him on tape. He's an impactful player. Like when they line him up inside, it's really cool. I think one of the burnt sacks might have happened that way last night, if I remember correctly. He still looks good. Like you could still see he's winning. But I think you're also seeing he's not as good as Brian Burns right now, right? And so it's kind of like a little bit of a comparative thing. When those guys are on the defensive line, he is not the dominant player, perhaps, that people had hoped for when he was drafted. But I also think, like, okay, it's year one. He's still kind of growing into his role. This is a player who, didn't play on the edge the entire time in college. So he's still learning some of the nuances of being a pass rusher. He's probably getting stronger as well, but it doesn't look like that's an issue to me on tape. So I think he's going to get better and better. But I think also the Giants are going to have some interesting contractual decisions to make, right? Like with Thibodeau playing the way he is, they're so stacked and they've invested so much into that defensive line. You can't pay everyone, you can't keep everyone, and there's other needs on the roster. And I think that's going to be an interesting thing to me with Carter and Thibodeau. Right now, they're not in competition, but from a roster construction point, they will be moving forward, and that's going to be a tough decision.
And is there any team you talk about invested? So think about this, like, and you can use this. You can take this and put it on like NFL Live, whatever you want to do. You take this, right? So the third pick, Abdul Carter. The fifth pick is Kayvon Thibodeau, right? Dexter Lawrence was a first-round pick, and Brian Burns was also a first-round pick. They don't just have like, first-round picks. They have high level first-round picks and 4 first-round picks on the defensive front. So they have mortgaged a lot to put these guys together. I have one more question, and then I want to reminisce about one more thing with you quickly. If the Giants have success with Jackson Dart and Scadaboo and they look competent, does it mask Joe Shane and Brian Daboll and their inadequacies of what we've seen? Because you can go back for these drafts with Joe Shane. Even the fact that Joe Shane thought it was a great idea to bring Russell Wilson here, who feels like he's couldn't be more done in the NFL. And, I mean, just look at the guys that they've drafted that have not panned out, i.e. Evan Neal. And I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And you watch Tyler Nubin spending money on Paulson Adebo, like bringing back Darius Slayton at $12 million a year. Like it goes on and on and on. But if Dart plays well and those guys keep their jobs, is there like a weird feeling of he's good and we're moving in the right direction, but we've now masked what may be a problem with our coach and our general manager?
I'm going to thread the needle here a little bit and say, and this might be, I'm not saying this is how it's going to play out, but if I was Giants ownership, to me, you don't just want to see Jackson Dart play well in spite of his circumstances. You want to see his circumstances help him down the stretch. So if he's playing well, but it feels like, wow, this offensive line is finally clicking and maybe they got something going with, obviously Scotty was a hit, but like one of these receivers, Robinson, who was like a high draft pick, and let's say he plays really well, then I think it's more likely that Shane deserves, not more likely, but I would say, okay, these players that you drafted, that you signed, you hit on a few of them. Then you feel better about keeping the job. But if it's just like, wow, this quarterback is doing really well in spite of everything and people are letting him down, I do not think he should keep his job just because they hit on the quarterback. Does that make sense?
It does. And I totally agree with you. Like if you start to have some hits outside of Dart, but if Dart happens to be the home run of home runs, it can't save everybody's job. Like if you win, because they're not going to win that many games, right? Maybe 5, maybe 6 if things go well. So I mean, John Mara said he needs to see wins. Is that enough wins? I don't know. I don't know the answer, but it concerns me the way that these guys have done their jobs prior to Jackson Dart, and now he comes here and maybe he saves everyone's job. All right. So the last thing I want to mention to you, this is the way I remember it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong or not. I get a call. I don't know when you talk to your friends or your family if you say, "I'm here because of Dave Rothenberg."
All the time.
I don't know if that's true or not.
Every day.
Here's what I remember. Correct me if I'm wrong. But years ago, it's got to be 10 years. I don't remember. You would know as well as me. I get a call from a program director at ESPN Radio, Louise. Lovely woman, great lady, friend, colleague, all of it. She says, I really think on our Sunday morning show that a writer for ESPN, the magazine, would be really terrific. Her name is Mina Kimes. I said, okay. I said, well, why are you telling me that? She goes, because she doesn't want to do it. She doesn't want to do radio. Could you call her and convince her to do the show with us? In my mind, and I think this is accurate, you and I had a long chat. I convinced you to do the radio show. You did the radio show. You were amazing. We had so much fun doing that show.
It was
and
fun.
Since then, you have now risen to unbelievable ranks at ESPN. Is there any truth to that story in my mind?
That's about in line with how I remember. I think the missing piece is like the reason I was apprehensive about doing radio is I wasn't an opinionator, right? And I was a writer and I did a little bit of analysis. I don't remember. I think that was before I started doing Around the Horn too. So I was like, who wants to hear my opinions about anything? I was very nervous about that. And I do remember you conveying to me, like, you can do this, you can give your opinions, people will listen to them. And being so supportive of that, even though I was very nervous. And Eric Carabell was our other
insider,
and who's just this delightful, like, curmudgeon of a guy. I just love him. I thought he's so great, and he's so good at fantasy, and he knows so much stuff. But he was also very supportive and very kind. And the other thing I remember is I was like really over prepared always. Like I would come in with way too many notes on this fantasy football show. And I think I had to learn over time that I didn't need to come in with like 40 pages of notes anytime I did anything. But you guys were just the absolute best for a total newbie in me when it came to giving opinions about anything on radio. So I really appreciate them. Forever grateful for it.
Of course, and the fact that you take a little bit of time out of your busy schedule to join me today on this show is welcome, and we're thrilled about it. And be like, I'm going to reach out to you. I'd love to catch up, and when you're in New York, we
Anytime.
can do that. But yeah, you're a big star now, and we're thrilled to have you on. So thank you. It's great to talk to you. It's great to see you, and
It's good to see
continued
you
success
too.
to you. Yeah. All right. So if you like that interview, check out this video or other interviews, and of course, as always, don't forget to subscribe.